Iran has had a nuclear program for almost 50 years, and it has asserted repeatedly that it is strictly for peaceful purposes. The dual nature of much of the technology had obscured whether Iran was pursuing a peaceful energy program or a nuclear weapons program. However, in 2002, it was exposed that Iran had secretly built nuclear-related facilities at Natanz in Iraq.
They've been caught red-handed playing with materials like polonium and beryllium, whose main attraction is for making bomb components, nuclear bomb components. Well, this set alarm bells off.
3 years of intensive inspections by the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, further revealed that Iran, at its Natanz centrifuge facility, had been secretly producing highly enriched uranium, one of the main ingredients needed to produce nuclear weapons.
I think the international community has rejected Iran's claim that their nuclear program is for peaceful purposes because they are clearly lying through their teeth.
They are obligated under the terms of the treaty to reveal all their nuclear-related activities. For 17 years, they kept all those activities hidden.
In fact, Iranian officials delayed inspections, changed explanations for discrepancies, cleaned up facilities, and even destroyed a site to cover up their activities.
Their refusal to comply with all the UN inspection regimes, which have been voted by the Security Council, to obstruct the efforts of the IAEA to see what's going on, makes one understandably suspicious.
Experts also question the economics of Iran's so-called peaceful nuclear program.
Principally, in Iran's case, they are sitting on some of the largest reserves of natural gas, a relatively clean-burning fuel. And if they took the money that they invested in a large reactor at Bushehr, the enrichment facilities at Natanz, the fuel fabrication facilities they're working on, and other reactors and conversion plants, they could have easily had much more electricity and desalinization capability on tap for much, much less.
Iran has also claimed that a heavy water reactor in Iraq is intended for the production of medical isotopes. However, this is another concern, because its spent fuel contains plutonium which can be reprocessed for nuclear weapons. Despite ongoing talks between Iran and the international community, the regime in Tehran has remained elusive and defiant.
ملت ایران سر سوزنی از حق خودش عقب نشینی نخواهد کرد.
No credible person could say that Iran has acted responsibly on the international stage in the last 30 years.
This Iranian regime has been very, very skilled, very sly, and it has been good at stepping close to the brink and then stepping back from it.
It's just so very clear what Iran is doing. They're stalling. They're using these other chess pieces to play for time.
Some other developments deserve attention, and that is their missile program. The ranges and numbers of the ballistic missiles they have are growing. It doesn't make sense to have long-range ballistic missiles to deliver anything like a conventional warhead, high explosive, unless it's super accurate. If you can't, and they can't, you compensate by using what's called a wide area munition. And that's a very fancy military term for something like a nuclear explosive.
Should Iran go nuclear, not only does it represent a threat to all of its neighbors, but it probably means that we're going to see a nuclear Middle East, which means we could see a nuclear war in the Middle East. It means all those countries that could have gone nuclear and have chosen not to may decide it's time that they should.
A nuclear Middle East spawned by a nuclear Iran, a state sponsor of terror.
If you take a look at Iran's influence today, it has reached all the way to the Mediterranean. It has come to Beirut. The Iranians subsidize Hezbollah in Lebanon. They pay for it. They subsidize its television channel. They subsidize its terrorism.
They threaten Israel's existence. Their president is the most notorious anti-Semite since 1945, who seems to deny the undeniable reality of the Holocaust.
They are doing their very best to disrupt the situation in Iraq by smuggling explosive devices across the border, by spending huge amounts of money to stir up terrorism in Iraq.
It would be complicated enough even without a nuclear Iran. You throw a nuclear Iran into the mix, this entire landscape is completely destabilized.
Since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, Iran has embarked on a mission of dominance and intimidation.
We see a leadership that doesn't respect human rights. On the contrary, it denies them. We see a leadership that obviously was responsible for the seizure of American hostages.
No one knew it at the time, but that was the first warning sign of the world we now live in.
This is a regime which is not open to the outside world. This is a radical theocracy. It's a dictatorship.
It's cracked down time and again on student demonstrations, has treated the minorities in Iran, the Arabs, the Azeris, Kurds, others, terribly.
I've often described the Iranian objective in the region as being a little bit like becoming the Sopranos. Basically, everyone's going to do what they want or their house is going to burn down. Well, if they have nuclear weapons, their capacity to intimidate, to coerce, is far greater than it is today.
Just how close is Iran to having nuclear weapons capability?
If Bushehr comes online as intended, roughly in about a year, within an additional year, it will have in it enough material to make anywhere between 30 and 60 crude nuclear weapons.
What we don't want to do is find out that they're much closer than we realize. And what we want to do is we want to stop this process now.
We have to let the world know that we're united against a nuclear Iran, that there is no way a nuclear Iran is acceptable to us or to the rest of the world.
We need to make sure that they know full well that for them or any other country that continues to taunt the rules, withdraw from treaties that they've violated, or test a nuclear device, that there will be severe economic, political, and possibly military consequences.
What can be done to arrest, stop, and hopefully reverse, Iran's march to nuclear weapons? I think it's a big question. And it's not just a big question for American power. It's a question for the Israelis. It's a question for the Europeans. This is not an American agenda. It's a global agenda.
There are very few things that will be more important than for the American people to speak in a collective way, with a national voice, a nonpartisan voice, stand up and say, we are not going to have a nuclear Iran.
Americans may share different politics and parties, from Republican to Democrat to independent, but this isn't about politics. This is about the danger of a nuclear-armed Iran.
No one can ignore this danger.